Welcome aboard and all aboard to How Not to Game with Kelly Jack. I'm Kelly Jack, the gaming persona for the Rex channel. This is the Semi-Trans session, specifically the Devil's Towers Fixit 1969 game. Yes, I should have made this much easier to say. Sessions. And this is episode 45. Hey, we're less than a minute in, and I've gotten the greetings and everything else out of the way. Let's get on with it. We're picking up right where we left off in episode 44, where we had this guy just sent to the depot. You can even see that by hovering over him with just a magnifying glass that he's on his way to the depot. You can do that with other trains to an extent. If they're going there, you have to click on them. But if they're got any issue, like they're waiting for clearance, stuck, etc., they will let you know what's going on when you hover over them. Let's go ahead, kick it up gear, and see which one this guy's going to dispatch into. I think he's going to go into the satellite yard. And switches do look set for the satellite yard. So we are pretty much in position. Now again, if you weren't following along or not close in where you can see the depot, I'm going to show you that trick for finding the depot that guy just went into to take and do the fixes you need to do. And we're going to kind of look over what my options are for this train to be upgraded. All right, he's in the depot, so you come to this notice that it pops up. Click on the picture of the depot that centers the depot on the screen, and then you can click on the depot and be in there. Yes, I know some have better options in other games that take you straight into the depot. But you don't always want to fix that. Sometimes you're sending them to a depot because you got too many trains out for the time being until you do some fixes. So let's go ahead, take the power off, and look over what we had. Now, again, we did get the SD40s, which is something that's actually in the real world. SD40s, you hear them guys say, when they're showing their old railfan videos, that's what they do. That was the power unit that they were seeing, or that was an older video of those. So we're going to put a couple of SD40s out there. And again, we're going to put two onto it. We have the older 45, so we're going to get rid of these guys. Whoops. Put that back power back on. Oh. There we go. So now we got the right way. Go to append again, cars. We've got those 4 cars that we're going to get rid of here in a minute. Let's see how many. So we're still going to stay at 100 at 6 cars, just like before. We're on the fill and chill, so we're just going to dispatch them right on out. Now, this is going to mean that we're going to have to make certain we've got the right number of dispatch squares for that train, and we do not. So we're going to up him up, help him out a little bit, and for down the road, in case we do goof him up, we're going to start expanding the yard at this point. So now they're all 4s. That'll increase our fuel capacity, our holding capacity, or our input capacity. Remember, this is 2 different lines right here. And at some point, I'm going to switch this guy over to here and make all the gas supposedly coming from this side and all the oil coming in on these guys. And I can get rid of one of those right there. I only need 5 on this line. So he's coming on up with that guy, the 4-car one. And there's our new version, waiting for a train to take and clear in front of him as an ore hopper train that we've dispatched and upgraded recently to a 5-car train from a 3 rolls through. We might want to see if SD40s can replace any of these other cars out there too. I mean, some of these Smaller trains could probably get away with a single SD40 pulling them. Let's go back and talk about that SD40 for a minute here. First, let's clear and sell everything we had in the station. Go to locomotives. So we're going to sell this guy too. Sell those guys. Sell those guys. And sell that guy. So the SD40 has a pull power of 2240 kilowatts of energy generated. And they do it in kilowatts instead of foot-pounds or anything like that. I do wish I had like a towing capacity or something like that. Be interesting to see. Has a top speed of 120 clicks per hour. It does run us only $11.09 for just the front unit. The rear unit is another $11.09. So we're running $22.18 now for power versus what we had before. And we can go back and take a look at the older rails. As a matter of fact, we can look all the way back to the Aaron Eagle, which stopped operation in 1857 by looking at the Obsolete, which I do have enabled for this game. Speaking of obsoletes, it's time to start getting rid of some obsolete vehicles. And the biggest ones are on the road. We're going to go to our filter. And we're actually going to do it through the vehicle management so that we can see in road vehicles, in our settings, we are still set to see just the obsoletes right now. So this will let us find those lines and start dispatching some buses onto them. So let's find all the stalls, because the stalls are the slowest and least productive for us at this moment. As much as I've loved having the stalls because they're cheap as all get out, they just don't carry the passengers at the speeds to take and make money anymore. Matter of fact, I think if we look at this guy, he's barely making any profit. 42 bucks. Let's see what we can do by having a faster bus in this day and age. So that is the Ashstead, and Ashstead is right there, so he dispatches out of Old Scratch. We're going to tell this vehicle to come to this vehicle. Hi there. We're going to retire you out in the field, and we're going to put an H-Trans bus onto you. You are on the 82 line. And we've already been doing this. We've even got one on the 84 line that we need to dispatch. Let's go ahead and do the 84 line right behind him. There he is. And we'll put one on Railroad Avenue. Hopefully that'll start getting Railroad Avenue going. Next up, we kind of need to look at the Springmouth-Pollingfield slow stage. And you know what? That's definitely one we don't want to stall on anymore. We need to get a faster bus, and I think this is one of those cases for the megahertz bus, because he's running full to begin with, which means we probably got a backlog of passengers. So let's put a megahertz bus on that line. So we know that's from that spot, so let's go over here to two quick ways. We can do depot, road depot, and then just go through them and center out. Sure enough, that's the High Ridge, so that's the satellite. Next depot, there we go. That's the depot we kind of want. So again, we're going to retire this stall out in the field. Just the minute he's done, he's sold. Somebody's taking him over, turning him into a camper or something. Maybe they're putting it in a museum. We don't care. We're going to grab the megahertz bus, the long bus, and we're going to kick through, put him onto that line, and that line is the Springmouth Polyfile slow stage. This guy right there. We still had the one on the Ashstead station shuttle. I'm not going to worry about that stall for now. He's not loading up. If he was loading up, I'd say it's time to start thinking about it. And it might even be time to start thinking about it, but we'll see. Pineville Circulator, though. Another one. And then we've got one here. That's the slow stage we just sent home. We've got one on the Connects bus from Newchester to Pinesville. Let's go ahead and get rid of that stall. So, this time around, we're going to unload only and wait until he's unloaded and send him to the depot and do a deadline for a little bit, which will make it faster to find the Newchester Pineville Connects bus. There we go. Send him to the depot. We can go ahead and close out the window instead of waiting for the auto close. And we know Pineville and Newchester service out of Old Scratch, so we can just go straight to Old Scratch. Grab that megahertz bus and put it on that line. While there's still one out there, doesn't matter. So there's the Pineville Circulator. We're looking for the Pineville, Newchester Pineville Connects bus. Put that faster bus onto it. And double check here for a sec, make certain I didn't just dispatch him out. So we're going to close the depot list because we're not using that to get the things fast. We need to look at the Pineville. So let's look at that. Oh, I actually have two of those. So I can sell this one. He's done. He's on his way into town. He's in depot. Let's go ahead and sell him. He's sold. There we go. Little things you can do to try to improve your profitability. Let's see how we're doing on profitability. We are on January 1, so hey, it's time to pause and talk about finances. Last year wound up better than we thought. I was really worried because we'd only made 150,000, 160,000 at the midpoint of the year in 77. We ended up 77 with 680,000 in profit. Because of all the constructions and changeouts of vehicles especially, we wound up with 129 in a hole, or only 129 added to our account balance. But still, we're doing construction work and half a million, over half a million, 550,000 roughly, more, 560,000 in construction work and new vehicles. So right there, we were doing pretty good. Another thing to look at is our maintenance costs. The maintenance costs still going down, but that's always going to go down. Looking monthly, fairly flat. What we were doing was balancing out. So we doing pretty good on that part of it. Trips is where we really want to take a look at, and trips stayed fairly steady, so that's a good sign. Though we were hoping to see an increase. Year to year, there is an increase. We're up to over 500,000 in trips. That's a great start towards turning this around. Now we are coming out of the 70s great 70s stagnation. It doesn't really take off until the 80s, but we'll see what we're doing. Another thing to look at, our assets line. Assets were staying fairly flat, actually a little bit low because we sold a bunch of trains that were higher cost for some lower cost ones. So that did us some good news there. in a sense. It hurts our net wealth. Net wealth still going up from the previous year. No, current net wealth is down, but it was still 77 versus 78. 300,000 in or 200,000 increases all. A little bit more. 230. Not bad. Ignore the current margin because the margin's going to be better once we get out of this. Last year's margin was 8%. Not as good as it had been back in the day when we were running those wonderful 30% margins, 20% margins. We can hope for that down the road, but I ain't counting on it. So we talked about our finances, talked about everything else. We did have 28 at the end for the month, or 20.53 for the month, last month in December. So that's a good sign. Close out all those highlights and charts so that next time we're clear. That Stoll did enter the depot, and I think we've sold him if I remember right. Yes, we did. Nothing in the barn. So again, go back to that vehicles list. We're on the looking only at certain things, and we've still got Stolls to deal with. Pineville Circulator, there's still one out on the stage, and he is needing to go to depot. Actually, we're going to cheat. Retire him right out there in the field. Pineville Circulator Bus. Next one up to take and talk about. He also needs to unload, retire, go to depot. You can just hit retire and it will automatically take it to the end of the unload all passengers on board. Then we need to take and come back out here. Pineville's again served out of Old Scratch. So head to Old Scratch, kick him, and I think for that one we can get away with just putting an H-Trans onto that line for now. And we just got to find Pineville Circulator and start him out. As we begin trying to upgrade, slowly but surely, our bus fleet. The other thing we got to get rid of are these three empires. The Carman route, the Ashlock, or and then Carman, the Ashlock Circulator, and the Spring Cross Circulator. Spring Cross would be the big one to take and consider because he's sitting empty because he's just not able to take and do as much. Let's go ahead and take a peek at him and tell it we're going to retire you out in the field. And Spring Cross dispatches out of the main yard at Brenton. So we're going to come to the Brenton main yard, main dispatch, HQ and main dispatch. And we're going to go with, instead of this guy at 350, we're going to go with this guy because he's only 80 cents per kilometer. So let's put him onto the Spring Cross Circulator. Another one's on the Rendon. So again, close him out. Set him up to retire. Come into here. Whoops, not that bus. This guy. We're going to schedule you to do the Rendon Circulator bus, which is losing money and obsolete at the same time. So we kick him out, and that hopefully will start letting us make some more money by being a faster bus, which will get people there faster, not take that penalty as much in town, and make us some money. 20-minute mark. That's about where we like to take stop our videos here on How Not to Game with Callie Jack. I'm Callie Jack, your host. Thanks for watching. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Comments are answered on the multiple of 10 issues, unless you put urgent because you need to question me as to whether I should do this or not. Just remember, how not to game. Don't take my answer as a good answer. Try it, laugh at it, but save first. I'm Callie Jack. Have a better day than